everybody, welcome to the channel. So I'm just going to do a few miniature gaming tutorials here and there. I get some questions now and again on how I do the snow that I do on some of my snow bases. So I'm going to show you guys how I do the snow basing, all right? I'm going to show you the materials you need first. You're going to need some Woodland Scenics Soft Flake Snow. There might be other products out there. This is what I had in my hobby shop that I got and it worked great. You're going to need some tacky glue, some PVA glue, something like that. Some good old super glue is going to work. And whatever paints you want to color your bases, I use white, and I use my chibi paints for them because it's really just kind of slopping it on there for the most part. White, I use a little bit of blue as well, just to give it that kind of bluish look to the snow. And then whatever paint you want to color your rocks, I'm using dark brown. And then whatever paint you want to color your base to clean the finish on the bottom of it, I'm using gray. The last thing you'll need is something to mix your snow in, and something disposable. I've been using these little salsa cups, you know, just from any Mexican restaurant, and you're gonna mix it in here and then be able to throw it away because it just kind of crusts over. And then something to throw away after you've used it to mix it, and I just use toothpicks and to kind of put it on there, something I don't really care about and can dispose of. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so we're just gonna take our base here and we're gonna put a little rock on it, a couple rocks maybe. So I'm just gonna get the super glue and we're gonna just put a few drops on. And then whatever, like, you know, rocks you have. I get Woodland Scenic rocks, I don't know, it's nice and easy. It feels silly paying for rocks, but I do. And I just put them on my bases. So just make sure wherever you put them, you've got enough room for your miniatures to be standing to one of the sides or in the middle or whatever. Okay, so prime them, and I use gray. So there they are, just primed gray. And next we're gonna just put some white paint and kind of paint the snow-covered areas. So nothing really to it here. Just go ahead and get it all as white as you can. I use kind of my cheap paints just because it's not really taking any finessing or anything. But just paint them all white. It might take a couple layers, but it doesn't take long. And I started painting blue on them as well. Now, most of the blue doesn't really show through too much unless I make a really thin like place where the snow is. But I got in a habit of doing it and I kind of like it when it does show through. But with the bases I'm doing more of the thicker snow. So you could probably skip this step if you're gonna do kind of a thick snow. I got in the habit of doing it. It doesn't take long, and when it does show through, I kind of like it. So there we go. And I just kind of mix it wet and get it all, you know, mixed with the blue and the white. And next, I'm just going to paint the rocks dark brown, and you can really paint the rocks whatever color you want and however you do your rocks. I am trying to imitate Hoth, and the rocks were dark on there because these are for Star Wars miniature bases. So I'm painting like a dark burnt umber, and really nothing to it, just getting them covered. Okay, and then once I've got them kind of covered up, I'm just going to mix a little white with that dark brown that I've got, dark burnt umber. And then I'm going to just do a little dry brush just to give them a little bit of texture. Now, a lot of the rocks are going to be covered by snow, so I haven't found that I need to do too much on these at all. But just give them a little quick hit of the dry brush there. If you don't know what dry brushing is, I'm sure you could find out, but basically you're taking the paint, removing a lot of it off with a paper towel or whatever you use, and then just kind of hitting it, you know, and letting the edges hit the brush, or letting the brush hit the edges, and it kind of just picks out some highlights. Okay, lastly for the painting, we're just gonna kind of touch up the base now that I kind of slopped all the paint and wasn't too careful, trying to be quick. But that's fine because I know that I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up at the end, and I'm using a slightly different color gray. And I'm using gray, you can really use whatever color you like. I kept it gray since that'll kind of keep it nice and light. I didn't want to use white, but I thought gray, light gray would kind of look nice with the snow-covered bases. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and mix the snow. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the PVA glue and kind of dump some in the cup I've got. And just, I would use something disposable because it gets pretty full of this stuff, and it is pretty hard to get off once you've got it on there. And I don't really have an exact mixture. I just kind of get the feel right. And it hasn't seemed to matter too much. Now I have found that you can get some different looks. So if you go a little watery kind of with your snow, it's gonna look a little more icy. And if you don't put the white paint in, it'll also look a little icier, which is kind of cool if you want to get it slush. But just because I'm trying to make something a little thicker, and a little more, of a freshly fallen snow, I'm keeping it nice and kind of fluffy. And then lastly, I'm going to mix in some paint here. Okay, so the white paint, I've found that it keeps it really looking nice and white and fresh. So just stir it all up. And a lot of it for me is the feel of the texture, once you're stirring it. So if you have it less chunky with the bits of snow, it's going to kind of smooth out more. If you add more snow to it, it's obviously going to be a little chunkier, and I'm going to get those kind of little fluffs. All right, so we're mixing it all up here. And sometimes you might need to add a little water as you're kind of doing this and it dries out slightly. You just kind of feel how it is, and if it starts feeling a little harder to mix and it's getting too clumpy, you can always add a little water. But first thing I'm going to do is take my miniature. I've got one of these little paper clips just to stick them in there while I airbrush them and not attach to the bases. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of see where I want them to go. Then I'm going to score the bottom just so that some of the plastic is actually showing. Then I'm going to see where I want them to fit on the base and how I want to stand them. And if I want the rock in front and back, or how it fits. And then once I decide, I don't have to be too accurate here, but I'm just going to kind of score the base as well. Just so when I glue it on there with the super glue, I'm going to get a nice little contact between the plastic on the base and the plastic on the miniature. And that way it really won't go anywhere. Now I have glued these with just the snow mixture by itself, and it has worked, but they do come, while it's drying. If you move the miniatures and stuff, they do have a tendency to kind of possibly fall over. It depends on the model too and how balanced they are. But just adding a little super glue on there is going to really make it stick. So I'm just going to kind of put it around and kind of leave a little space there for the feet to contact the base. Trying to get each little edge. And as long as you leave a little bit of the plastic showing on the base, that should be good enough. So I'm just going to drop a little super glue on there. Sorry, it's kind of off camera. I didn't realize it when I was filming this. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick the miniature on. And within seconds, it is very well attached, which is kind of nice because then I can kind of work on the snow, and when you tilt the model, it won't fall off. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty much glued now. And I haven't had any issues if it mixes with the snow that I've been mixing or whatever. It doesn't seem to matter at all. All right, so I'm just kind of pushing it in towards his foot so you don't see any of the gaps, or looking for any gaps that might be there. That's really just about it. All right, guys, I hope that helped. Hope you'll get some good snow bases yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.